Thanks to everyone who have subscribed. If you have not, please do. And thanks for coming out here. I really appreciate you. Dino, Melaye, Unstages, Presidency, Unsettles, Osinbajo, Malami over Buhari. We know that President Muhammadu Buhari administration, one of his large critics is the person of Senator Dino, a very controversial man, and they themselves are not totally, that's why they beat him up the other time, and he's someone that they are really scared of. Anyway, let's go on to the news. Senator Dino Melaye, advocacy reinforces by the judgment of Olu Adegboro San on President Muhammadu Buhari may have unstaged the Nigerian presidency and unsettled principal legal officers in the federal cabinet, especially the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, a professor of law, and the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami. Dino Melaye has said that President Buhari lacks the constitutional power to literally order restriction of movement in any state without the approval of the National Assembly or State House of Assembly. Senator Melaye declares that President Buhari lacked the constitutional power to take over the affairs of a state government without legislative approval. Olu Adegboro San also questioned the constitutional power of President Muhammadu Buhari to order lockdown of Lagos and Ogun. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo San, in defense of President Muhammadu Buhari on the lockdown of Lagos and Ogun states, said the president invoked the act of the National Assembly. Professor Osinbajo argues that questioning the legality of the presidential order restricting movement in the FCT, Lagos and Ogun states is quite unnecessary, as the action taken is not only important but very well backed by the extended Nigerian law. Regarding the legality of the shutdown announced by the president on Sunday, I think it is entirely legal. The steps are proactive, very relevant, important, and backed by law. I am not such of the people who have commented on the issue have come across the Quarantine Act, that is a Quarantine Act of 1926. You're talking about the colonial days. My people, this is democracy way before we got our independence. It's been published in all the laws of Nigeria, every edition of the law of Nigeria, it is there. Professor Osinbajo pointed out that what the Act does is that it allows the president to designate any local area, any part of the country, as a place that may be infected or under the threat of a communicable disease. And it can then make regulations of any kind. He insisted that the power comes from the National Assembly because the regulatory is the act of the National Assembly. The Vice President mentioned that the virtue of the constitutional rule, the 1926 Act, is deemed to be an act of National Assembly. So the President has extensive powers under the Quarantine Act of 1926, according to governors have extensive power under the same Quarantine Act. Osinbajo declared furthermore, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, also argued that the President acts rightfully under the powers conferred on him by the Quarantine Act of 1999 Cap 384 LFN, whose long-term reads an act to provide for and regulate the imposition of quarantine and make other provision of preventing the introduction into the spread of Nigeria and the transmission from Nigeria to other areas of disease-infected area to control the spread. Malami, in a statement Olu, inciting Olu's criticism of President Muhammadu Buhari on restriction of movement in states, said the president did not make a declaration of a state of emergency under Section 305, one of the 1999 Constitution as amended, which would have requested the concurrence of both House of Assembly, the ministers, to agree before he goes ahead and make any declaration after due permission has been given. The state of emergency runs a period of 10 days without the approval of the National Assembly. When the parliament is not the section and the place situated the National Assembly has shut down, then the president can act after 10 days of interest. He faulted Olu for questioning the president's power to restrict movement and claims that such power can only be exercised by the state governors and the respective state assemblies. It is clear from the president broadcast that what His Excellency sought to address is the public emergency occasioned by a dangerous and infectious coronavirus disease, COVID-19. The restriction of movement came on the heels of advice received by the President from the Federal Ministry of Health and the NCDC, the two-faced agency in the fight against COVID-19. It is therefore becomes obvious and clear that the restriction order is part of a national quarantine measure. The correct position remains that the President acted rightfully under the powers conferred on him by the Quarantine Act 1999 Cap 384 LFN, whose long-term need was an act to provide for the regulatory and imposing of quarantine and to make other provisions for providing the introduction into the spread of Nigeria and transmission from disease control. It is not in doubt that COVID-19 is an infectious disease of a contagious nature, which the President has rightfully declared under Section 2 of the Quarantine Act to be dangerous infectious disease. Section 3 of the Act enabled the President to declare any part of Nigeria. Section 4 of the Act further empowers the President to make regulations to prevent the introduction, spread, and transmission of any dangerous infection disease. Section 6 of the Act requests the President and state governors to provide sanitaries, stations, building, and equipment to help curb the spread. Thus, in recognition of the critical roles being played by the state governors in this trying time, the federal government has been working with the states in line with the decision of Section 6 of the Act. To this end, the federal government is providing a financial stability to the Nigerian people of the sum of 10 billion to the NCDC and the sum of 6.5 billion for the benefit of the entire 36 states of the federal capital, Malami declares. It is our preference that the speech given by the President was in line with the Constitution of Nigeria. Based on the advice of the Federal Ministry of Health and NCDC, I'm declaring the non-movement of Nigeria and restriction is in line with everything our Constitution says. The restriction will also apply to Ogun due to its close proximity to Lagos and the high traffic between the two states. The governors of Lagos and Ogun, as well as the Minister of the Federal FCT, have been notified. Furthermore, heads of security and intelligence agencies have also been briefed. Mr. President, patriotic step takes above the overruling national interest has been subjected to attack from various quarters, and everyone is speaking against what the President has done. We think that the president has acted under Nigerian constitution, and since under that is the act of the House of Assembly, he has not gone out of line. Well, they say Malami wetin he talk not correct, say, and they can't prove say wetin them talk not correct, say. Buhari has acted in the law, he has not acted out of the law. But what is your take on this matter? Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, click on the notification button so you can get all our latest news. God bless you. Have a good day. Bye.